Hello, this is Jerry Zremski from the Buffalo News Washington Bureau. It's Monday, and that means it's once again time for me to tell you a little bit about the news of the week ahead in Washington and what I have planned myself. And I will tell you from the outset that this will probably be the last busy week in Washington in quite some time. That's because next week Congress is going on a 5-week recess. Before that, though, I've got a couple of stories planned, and I'm sure others will be coming down the pike as well. First and foremost, I'm going to be paying attention to some legislation that the House is going to be considering this week regarding taxes. As you may well know, at the end of this year, the nation faces what's called a fiscal cliff. And what's meant by that is that the Bush tax cuts of 10 years ago are set to expire at the exact same time that a very draconian budget cut is expected to take place and scheduled to take place. The current conventional wisdom is that Congress will deal with this at the last possible moment and possibly even find a way to punt it into next year. Given recent history in Congress, that tends to be the way things get done. But right now we're in sort of a posturing phase, I think. And last week the Senate passed its version of a tax bill, which included tax hikes on people of somewhat higher incomes and very high incomes. Whereas this week the House is going to be dealing with legislation that would not raise taxes on people. Basically, the House bill, which I'll be covering, will extend the Bush tax cuts. Now, as I said, this is just two parties posturing right now. The Democratic-controlled Senate did its part last week, and the Republican House will do it this week. But nevertheless, it's an important election issue, and that's why I think it's important for me to cover this, both as a matter of legislation and as a matter of politics. And speaking of politics, I've got a couple of other things that I will be doing. One is a story that just takes a look writ large at the House and the Senate and what kind of job they're doing. There are many critics now who say that this is one of the weakest, worst Congresses ever. I'm going to be asking the question, is this true? And asking our members of Congress what they think about that theory that they're really not doing their job for the country. So that should be an interesting piece, I think, coming for the weekend. Beyond that, I've got a lot of planning to do. The next few weeks will be really chaotic in terms of political coverage for us. There's just going to be so much for us to do. Both Bob McCarthy, my colleague in Buffalo, who's the chief political reporter, and I will be going to the to the national conventions, the Democratic and the Republican conventions, in late August and early September. And beyond that, it's time for me to plan once again something that I've done each of the last 4 years going back to the year 2000, and that is a series of visits to swing states to write about the issues that matter there and why they matter to people in Buffalo. This is a very major undertaking. It involves a lot of planning for travel and getting acquainted with sources before the travel begins, and I generally begin that late July, early August, just to try to figure out where I'm going and when I'm going. And that sort of travel I think will begin mid to late September, but I do have to start booking flights and getting going on it, so I'll be doing that as well. So that's the way things are looking for me this week. I will be off next week, so I will not be with you on Monday morning, but I will be with you on Monday morning in 2 weeks as we move forward into August. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you'll be reading my stories in the Buffalo News, and I hope you have a good week. Thank you.